We're live. Hey, everybody. It's Habit Finder time. Welcome, welcome. Excited for another fantastic, beautiful Tuesday. I am indoors today. Didn't have time to figure out an outdoor setup, although it is another gorgeous, beautiful day. So super awesome. Excited to be with you guys today. We've got some really fun stuff to talk about. I'm just looking for my copy of The Greatest Salesman so I can make a reference to, I'll just kind of quote it, paraphrasing a little bit. So, well, that's weird. The bar that shows how many eyes are on this is going all the way across the screen. A little distracting. All right, cool. Woohoo indeed, Jill. Welcome. Hey, Cindy. Eric, top of the morning to you, or good afternoon, I guess it is where you're at. Welcome, everybody. Awesome. Super exciting. We'll give just another minute or two for our regulars, our power session peeps to get logged in here. Super excited to, and those of you who have been on here know that it's super excited is just something I can't get rid of. It's a disease. I'm taking medication, it's slowly coming out of my vocabulary, but I'll work on it. But today we're going to be talking about some really foundational stuff, really important things. So those of you who have been trying to work through your personal development and feel like you're getting deeper and deeper and deeper, but it's not moving your business forward, it's not moving your life forward, you're finding new strategies, new techniques, new ideas, and having a hard time sustaining them or getting overwhelmed with them or whatever the case is. We're going to talk about some things today that I think will be really important for you to understand in terms of the foundational growth for you. Personal development, that's developing you as a person, as a human being, to be able to have the principles, the awareness, the consciousness, to be able to progress, not just to think deeper thoughts. I always think when people get down on personal development, because there's a lot of opportunity to get lost up here, and then you can dive into a book and a seminar and get even more lost in here and not take the actions that are required. It's why Mandino took us through the progression he did in his perennial bestseller, The Greatest Salesman in the World, where he talked about starting a new life, hitting the reset button. Today I begin a new life. Love, persistence, multiplying our value, all these different things he takes us through. And then right before the second to last scroll, just punches you in the face with, I will act now, that our dreams are worthless, our plans are dust, all of our no value if I do not take action. But I wanted to zero in today on one of the things he said in the first scrolls. Especially in today's world, where I've got a personal mission to make personal development personal again, to get away from the philosophical stuff that sells and get to the real principles, get to the way your brain actually operates, get away from the ahas and insights that you can collect all of them you want and try and deposit them in your bank account. They're not going to make a difference of something that you could withdraw and go impact lives with. And to be able to go make an impact on your life and others, and to be able to leave a footprint on this planet. So that's the foundational stuff. It may not be the sexy stuff. It may not be the stuff that sells as well as everything else. And we're okay with that. We're okay with not selling people sizzle just for the sake of sizzle. We want to teach what works. And that's served us well as a company for 19 years. That's what we do. That's why in the middle of developing new programs in the first couple of years of this company, we went time out. Not that we had an excess of funds and we're just rocking it. In fact, first couple of years of the company were a little rough, and said time out and said, you know what, this isn't getting to the real stuff. These are great principles. These are great practices. They give new perspective. However, we've got to understand what's going on under the surface. And under the surface is where the foundation is laid. Under the surface is where we build up the opportunity to see how big of a life we can create, how big of a dream we can go after. All of those things are determined by our foundation. The deeper that there's a house just down the street from mine that I've been passing several times that had its garage demoed, and we were wondering what was going on. And then they came and they dug the foundation way deeper and pillared and worked on the ground and everything, all because they wanted to put an apartment on top of their garage. I would assume, I don't know these people, but I would assume for maybe an in-law or a parent that's getting a little old that's going to stay kind of in their own place, but still in the same house. And they had to go deeper into the foundation to have another floor on top for it to be stable, for it to withstand earthquakes. We're right on a major fault line and other things. So the foundation of our lives, if you feel like you're limited in being able to reach higher heights, if you feel like you're limited in your overall capacity and your bandwidth and being able to handle what is being required of you to get where you want to go, it's likely because of the limitations of your foundation. And that's what we want to talk about today. And real quick, just to wrap up the story I was mentioning early on in this company, when we hit timeout, we're like, we got to find this foundation. That's when we poured millions of dollars in time that we didn't have, but we figured out how to create it, millions of dollars in time into creating the Habit Finder tool that has dictated the way we approach the scrolls. It's dictated the way we approach our coaching program. It's dictated the way we approach the marketplace and companies and leadership and sales and connection and creation. All of these things with research with over 150,000 entrepreneurs and business leaders that we've spent intimate time with, learning how their brain is functioning, learning how your thoughts are working and how your thinking patterns are showing up in your life, because that's where we find the foundation. It's in the way you think. Okay, made very, very clear by James Allen, who made sure that we understood that there was no way we could outgrow our thoughts. In fact, I wanted to read you just a little bit from James Allen's, an excerpt from James Allen's incredible book, As a Man Thinketh, where he said that and granted, this was written a long, long time ago. It was the only book he wrote, so why not, why mess with perfection? But in terms of understanding this foundation and why we focus on thoughts, and then I'll address this cute little picture I drew behind me and what that has to do with our conversation today. But an amazing little excerpt that I think is really important for us to understand. Now, granted, this was written a long time ago, so it's not PC in terms of gender and everything else, but hopefully you get the idea. All that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct results of his own thoughts, period. We could stop there. And if you just spent time thinking about that, all that you can achieve and all that you fail to achieve is the direct result of your thoughts. Your thoughts are as far upstream as you can get, and yet we're spending most of our time day in and day out with what we should do, what we should not do, what the strategy is, what's the best tactic, what's the flavor of the month for what we're doing in our business, or whatever the case is. And those are all important. Okay, those are all great pieces to the puzzle, great parts of construction to reach higher heights that all require creativity and sacrifice and strategy and all these different things, surrender and all these different things that are required to reach higher heights. But if they're not built on a foundation of your thoughts, then you're going to run into some major problems, as we'll talk about here in just a minute. So all that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. Individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another, and they can only be altered by himself, never by another. His condition is also his own and not another man's. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. I mean, that alone, like, if you've never read As a Man Thinketh, like, the whole book, just full of that kind of stuff. And it's all based on the premise that as we think, therefore we are. Our thoughts create our reality. And as we've talked on here before, remember that your reality is not the reality. That's a great surrender that you'll want to learn earlier than later, because all these people out there have I just tell it like it is, and this is how it is, da 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 da. Well, that's great. That's how it is for you. And the people who will follow you are going to be weak. I don't mean that to be offensive, but that's just what we found. We've measured it. The people that follow those that just tell it like it is and just lay it out there and da-da-da-da-da, whatever, are usually weak. And what I mean, like, they're the ones who are selfishly, like, absorbed in this is how it's done and that sucks and whatever. I know some people that just tell it like it is, but they have an incredible heart and incredible openness to people and their uniqueness and authenticity. But I'm talking about the people who elevate themselves in a condescending way, that it's just, well, this is just how it is their excuse. It's not the case. Okay, your reality is not the reality. You can feel passionately about your reality. I'm all for you being opinionated about your reality, as long as at the end of the day, you are willing to surrender that your reality is not my reality, and that we're going to want to find ways to coexist. I'm going to want to find benefits to your reality and to find lessons and ways to understand that, and hope that that gets reciprocated and you're wanting to understand my reality. That's what we're doing here in our thoughts. That's why we're figuring out how to participate in this conversation, where most of us are living most of our days for most of the day right up here in our minds, where our thoughts rule. But I'd love to say that we rule our minds. The majority of people, actually no one completely rules their mind. You're talking about 50 to 80,000 conscious thoughts a day that are dictated by neurological patterns, chemical releases, experiences that you're conscious and not even conscious of, not to mention the 1.5 to 2 million unconscious thoughts a day there that are constantly feeding those conscious thoughts. And then we wonder why we have a hard time breaking patterns when about 83% of those thoughts that we have every day are the same thoughts we had the day before, whether we're aware of them or not. This is your foundation. Your foundation are your thoughts. There's a reason why in 2001 we decided to go, skirt, hold on. We need to figure out how to measure this stuff. We need to figure out how to come in, and before we add another level to your garage, like this house down the street from me, we want to make sure that the foundation can support it. Because how many of us have taken on a venture or responsibility or even a dream only to start to build it and then have it turn into a house of cards or a tower of Jenga? And as soon as something knocks us over, or we grab the wrong piece at the wrong time, or aren't quite smooth enough, or make a mistake, who wants to build a dream with that kind of margin for error versus doing it the right way and building a solid foundation? Now, Og made very clear to us in scroll number 1 what that means when he talked about what success is. When he said, well, it's success is different for everybody. What you build on top of the foundation is different for everybody. However, the foundation are the principles that prevent failure. Now, that doesn't sound like something you hear on a late night infomercial to get you pumped about investing in real estate or losing 20 pounds in 2 weeks and all the other shortcut crap that we're wasting our time and money on because our brain wants life to be easier. There's literally a part of your brain constantly pushing that agenda that is destroying our lives as we seek comfort as a down payment on our lives, rather than seeking the comfort that is the invested dividends of hard work and focus and dreams. That doesn't mean it needs to be harder to get where you want to go. Most of us who have been battling against what's holding us back, this is as hard as it's going to get. In fact, you'll find surrender and peace in that surrender, not waiting for the other shoe to drop and not catastrophizing things and worrying in worst case scenarios. You'll find incredible relief from letting go of some of that noise and realizing that this may be as hard as life ever feels to you. Because a lot of us are living at less than full speed. And the further you are from full speed, the harder it is to live. The harder it feels, I should say. That's why sometimes we can see people who are at these incredible elevations in their life of what they've created. And when we actually spend a day with them and see what their calendar is like, and it's exhausting just to see what they do. But their life has never felt easier because they've built a foundation to handle that. Is the foundation appropriate to what you're trying to create? That's all I want you to consider. Rather than getting frustrated that you don't get a fair shot at this, you don't get a fair crack at that. They were so lucky to have that and to have that gift and have that opportunity and what. No, as James Allen made very clear, that in this justly ordered universe, that our total individual responsibility must be absolute. Our individual responsibility must be absolute. Now, side note, that doesn't mean do this on your own, okay? Don't try to build your foundation on your own. Don't try to build your dreams on your own. There's a big difference between absolution in your personal responsibility and being some solo act. This is not how it works. That's a very, very difficult, nigh impossible way to build. It's going to take you way longer than it should. And if it doesn't, you're not going to be very happy with what it required of you, even if I could be so bold, required of your soul to be able to accomplish that. So let's build this the right way together. And if we can build this together, surrounding ourselves with people that serve us, that lift us up, that their eyes light up when they see us. I was watching the Tony Awards on Sunday. I'm a theater nut, okay? I was a theater major in high school and in college, and president of the drama club, all that stuff. Loved it, played sports. Yes, I'm a very big man, and I usually get asked, where I played football. But I love theater, and I was watching the Tony Awards, and this gentleman won the Best Actor award and got up and just said, one of the keys to life is making sure you spend as much time as possible with people who light up when they see you. And I love that. I thought that was really cool, just as a little side note. So finding the people that light up when they see you, finding the people to surround yourself to do life together with people who have lives and are headed towards the lives that you want to be living, that are making the impact or on their way to making the impact that you want to be having on this world. And then do that with total individual responsibility that is absolute. Ooh, that's an amazing entrance to building your foundation. Okay, let's take this conversation to another level. Now this, I'm sure some of you recognize, even as poorly drawn as it is, what this 605-foot structure is. Okay, this is the Space Needle in Seattle, Washington. It is the #1 tourist attraction in the Northwest. And it's quite an amazing building. Okay, I had the opportunity to go up on top of this thing last year or the year before. It was nighttime. You could see all the ferries, which Seattle has the second largest ferry system in the world, I found out, which is amazing. I didn't know that. And you can see all the lights. We could see fireworks down at the stadium, the baseball stadium, and different things. It was phenomenal. It was amazing to be 605 feet up in this structure that can withstand some of the most torrential storms and wind and challenges that Mother Nature can throw at it. It's built to handle that. When you first see it, though, and especially when you stand under it, you're like, whoa, it doesn't seem like it would take that much. And it would be terrifying for that to happen. In fact, a number of years ago, they played an April Fool's joke and announced over the PA system or something, or on the local news, that the Space Needle had tipped over on April Fool's. And anyway, emergency calls went out the wazoo in terms of what happened and was everybody okay. And it was a little overboard from the city, but still super funny. So this someone like me appreciates that. So Space Needle, 605 feet tall. That's in terms, and if you've ever seen it, whoa, okay? Like I thought the stratosphere was pretty amazing on the Strip until you get around the Space Needle, and it's just like unbelievable in terms of the structure and what was required to pull it off and how tight of a space they had to make this happen. But I want to make sure you understand something really, really important. You've got this incredible structure here, okay? And then you've got this going on underneath it. This is a 30-foot by 120-foot squared, cubed, I guess in this case, 30 feet deep, 120 feet across, squared foundation for this building. 30 feet deep. 30 feet under the streets of Seattle, this foundation goes to. And the bolts, there's 72 of them, 72 bolts that hold this structure in place. And these bolts are 72 feet long. They go from the bottom of the structure down to the bottom and are anchored in the bottom of the foundation. Unbelievable. Okay, you've got well over half of the structure. I believe it's about 70% of the total infrastructure, the total weight of this building is underground. Okay, so here's the ground, meaning this, okay, woo, okay, those are eyeballs. This is what we see. Okay, we see this part. We see, oh, that's amazing. Ooh, ah, all. This is what makes it possible. Without this, this is a very dangerous structure. Very dangerous. without the depth and the width and the breadth and the solidity, if that's even a word, okay, the solidness, who knows, it is today, of the foundation. Without that, this isn't possible. The spectacle, the attraction, the inspiration that this building provides. So is our lives. And so many of us are watching people build this and not paying close attention to what's really going on under the surface. In fact, we're doing the opposite. We're comparing what's going on under the surface for us with what's going on top of the surface for them. And then when it's time for us to start building it, we start building this without taking care of this. Now, those of you who are engineers or understand anything about physics, this, I think, is one of the most impressive things, okay? The center of gravity, okay, the tipping point of this building. The center of gravity, meaning where the middle of the building would be in terms of weight distribution, is 5 feet above the ground. That is bonkers. 605 feet up in the air, and the center of gravity of this thing is only 5 feet off the ground. What a cool lesson, an example for our lives. Our center of gravity for this building is within reach. Okay, the average human being would have no problem being able to touch and reach the Space Needle's center of gravity, its core. Okay, physically, its tipping point, the what allows it to be what it is. That's crazy. It's just mind blowing to think of how they pull that off, and it's all because of this foundation. It's all because they went 30 feet underground, which was not easy to do, and 120 feet across with 72 30-foot bolts to hold this thing down so that its center of gravity, when winds and storms are hitting it, is at 5 feet above the ground. No wonder it withstands what it does. No wonder it's been standing for as long as it has and will stand for so much longer. These are the dreams we want to create. We want to create Space Needle dreams in our lives. We want to create spectacles. We want to create things that are so inspiring that the number one attraction in the Northwest, we want to be attractive. We want to take advantage of the law of attraction. If you and your thoughts were the number one attraction in your life, rather than just what you're trying to do or what you're trying to present to the world or some facade or all the other games that we play with our own minds and our own thoughts, and your center of gravity, even at a 605-foot dream, your center, your core, who you are, can still be just 5 feet off the ground, versus losing traction in our lives when we seem to allow ourselves to float beyond our current realities into fantasies, or maybe we bury ourselves under this foundation in catastrophe and worry. This just struck me as such a beautiful example of how we want to build our dreams. Mandino talked about the foundation being preventing failure. That's what we want to do. We want to build this foundation because without it, the higher we try to reach, the more we try to create, the more we're creating a tower of Jenga. And many of us have experienced this, and unfortunately, many of my clients have experienced what it's like to pull the wrong piece. Rather than building millimeter after millimeter, bolt after bolt, learning from those who have built theirs, learning from those who are halfway up the construction of where they want to be, learning lessons that can allow you to do this simpler, which oftentimes, when done with the appropriate habits, the appropriate awareness, can result in doing it faster. But that's not the point. Because if you seek to do it faster, you'll make poor decisions. If you seek to do it simpler, you'll more than likely do it faster and do it with good decisions. Find ways to build this with simplicity. Because when you really look at the infrastructure of the Space Needle, it's quite simple. It's quite simple indeed. So getting an opportunity to be able to grasp that in your own lives is understanding What is your foundation? What are your thoughts able to handle? How are they able to support you? If they're 3 feet deep and 20 feet across, don't expect to build a 605-foot tower of dreams and possibilities in this life. Okay? Start to build with whatever your foundation can support and handle. And if you're not okay with stopping there, don't try to build it higher. Build your foundation deeper and then build it higher. Versus just trying to take a block, okay, and then put another block on top of it, and another block on top of that, and another block on top of that, and another block on top of that. It's not going to take much force for life to come knock that over. You might get to enjoy this for a little while. This might feel like unstoppable, amazing. And those of you who've been up here and fallen, the problem you've got is probably building a block, and then going, I think I'm okay right here. This is safe. Because I remember getting up there before, and falling from there really hurts. Okay? It's amazing how many of us become a little afraid of heights when it comes to our own dreams. We may not even remember when we fell from here. It could have been when we were a child, when we could build these blocks effortlessly up here with our imagination and our dreams, and being able to do that. What we want to understand is the simplicity of our lives. We'll take away the Space Needle example, just so you can see how this works. When you build foundational blocks in your life of connection, blocks of using your mind constructively, blocks of being more present in the now, blocks of finding joy in the journey today rather than waiting for some destination that's going to make you enough so you can finally feel like it was worth it if you can hang on long enough to get there. Okay, being able to find structure and discipline and being able to find yourself, which just happen to be the 6 foundational blocks that we teach. What a coincidence. Then you get an opportunity to start building your business on top of this. Millimeters. And bam, you have increased your elevation and sustained your foundation. And then you can come take the next level, and the next level, and the next one, and the next one. And then before you know it, you're at 600 feet plus in your life, and you've also hacked the engineering of the longest standing structures on planet Earth, the pyramids. I mean, for the size and the intricacy of these, I mean, unbelievable. The aliens could build something so amazing. I'm just kidding. Okay. Probably opened up a can of words with that one, but okay. Where we build this foundation. This is physics. And what's amazing is nature gives us great symbols and reminders of how our lives work, how our minds work, how our dreams work. And this is how we build a physical structure. This is how we build our lives too. We're just so quick to want to take this first block, especially with technology, accessibility, and speed, and go, oh, that was easy. Let's do this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And we don't have the habits. We don't have the breadth and the depth to support it foundationally. And then boo, it tips over and falls. And then we get frustrated and feel like it was our fault, and I'm not good enough, and what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. Just gave into the part of your brain that wanted life to be a little easier, take some shortcuts, get it quickly, get some kind of payoff to make this frustration worthwhile, versus surrendering to the foundational elements of your mind, the foundational elements of absolute individual responsibility, of connection, to be able to find and integrate and deepen the relationships that will allow you to build faster and higher. If you're going to build anything fast, build the foundation. Quit being so concerned about altitude, because before you know it, it's going to take less and less blocks for you to get higher and higher and higher to reach the peak of your dream. What's beautiful about this is you may get to this point and go, well, I want to go even higher. I want to go even higher. I want to build an empire. I've created a $5 million business. Now I want to create a $50 million business. Well, then all you do is come and get back to work on the foundation. Because then guess what you can do? You can add pieces to the next level. You can add pieces to the next level. And you can add pieces to that next level. And you can add pieces to that next level. And then suddenly, what used to be the highest point is now 3 levels deeper to allow you to go even higher into the skies of your dreams. That's how this is done. You talk to anyone of massively successful, they've all gotten points where this structure that they've built, okay, this original one that we had here, that this one that they built was amazing, an amazing journey, okay? And then in my good friend Doug Wood's book, Church Boy to Millionaire, what we run into here is purpose drift. We start to drift and boop, boop, we start falling down until all of a sudden we realize, oh, I got comfortable. That's all that happened. All I need to do is add to my foundation, because even though I've learned invaluable lessons here, this does not give you the permission to just start putting single blocks above this. Because then you're just creating a tower of Jenga on top of your pyramid, meaning when it falls, you're gonna go even further down and it's gonna hurt even more. Go back to the foundation of your thoughts, of your thinking, and not just philosophical thoughts, not just the idea of listening to your mind a little bit more. Measure it. Find out scientifically, mathematically, what's going on up here. And I just happen to know a great way for you to do that. It's called the Habit Finder. We poured millions of dollars, thousands of hours into this so that when you wanted to build this foundation, that you could find out, okay, this piece, boom, solid, strong. Oh, but this piece has got some major risks in it. This one's okay over here, but major risks over here. This one's solid. This one's got challenges all over the place. This one's okay here, but has these risks, so that you can build a solid foundation. So that you can understand not who you are or who you aren't. We don't measure that, okay? It's not that we aren't interested in your personality. It's just that you have 7 to 9 of them. So if you just want to take an assessment that's going to give you the aggregate trends of a particular one, it's not that we don't care about what your natural strengths are in terms of corporate environments and behavioral tendencies. Those are all super important. It's just that we would really like to know the thoughts that are driving those things. We could take 10 people that have the same kind of profile in any of the dozens and dozens of major assessments that are out there. They all have different thoughts that are driving their foundation. Different thoughts that are supporting or sabotaging those gifts, those strengths, those behavioral tendencies. That's why James Allen didn't say that all that man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own personality. Didn't even say all that a man achieves or all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own behavior. He said it's the direct result of his own thoughts. And thoughts and understanding your thoughts, measuring your thoughts, shifting and managing and mastering thoughts are how you build a foundation that can go 30 feet down, 120 feet across to build something as magnificent as the Space Needle of the dreams of your life, and have any storms be able to come at it and not worry about suffering the Tower of Jenga results in your life. So that is my message for you today. Let's get to the foundation. Spend as much time building here as you do building here. Because you'll notice as we get higher and higher and higher, there's fewer and fewer things required for you to get higher until you max out. Then you just have a few more foundational things to add. And then boop, 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 you get to add right to it. That's what's beautiful about the progression of thinking habits. That's what's beautiful about, as frustrating as it can be for your brain to be so stuck on being predictable, and how many of us are experiencing the dark side of that our brain trying to keep us predictable is keeping us stuck where we are, limiting beliefs, stories, supposed tos, all these different things that are preventing us from even imagining the Space Needle of our dreams, okay? But on the flip side of that, when you learn how to build it appropriately, that same frustrating mechanism of predictability will be predictability for success when you build the right habits. This is why Og pleaded with us to understand that success, whether it's a Space Needle, a massive house, a charity, building wells for fresh water for people in third world countries, whatever it is for you, that it's different for all of us. They all do different things to us. And it's not what it is. It's not how much it costs. And it can cost a ton, way beyond the scope of anything you've comprehended, or it might be $50. Whatever it is, everything in between, it's what it does to you that makes it worth building this foundation. Find that. And the work of this pyramid of your life, the work of your foundation for your Space Needle, becomes passion-driven, becomes fun, joyful, peaceful. And yes, all those things can coexist in your life, rather than becoming shortcutted or expectation-driven, those concrete conditions for happiness, which are usually based on the height of your building, not the depth and the breadth and the foundation and its stability. Be careful with those expectations. Be careful with the active mind that just wants life to be easier, because it's not easy to build the foundation. But Og made very clear the secrets in these scrolls that have created fortunes that are uncountable, that they're not easy, but they are the essential first building block to creating whatever you want to build. Has got to be built on a foundation. And that foundation will determine the success or the failure of you and your dreams and the impact you have to make on this world. Hope this is striking a chord for you. I hope this perspective gives you an opportunity to understand that you want to be building things. You want to be on offense. You can only be as much on offense and build and grow and reach new heights as the foundation that you have built. If you'd love a checkup on your foundation, if you'd love to discuss what those foundational pieces look like that allow you to create your Space Needle, that allow you to create your dreams, your fantastical ideas, and turn them into worthy dreams, okay? Especially those of you who have dreams that you've been taught you shouldn't want, whether it's religiously, culturally, community-wise, family. That's not, my dad shared an amazing story the other day in group coaching where when he sold the house that I grew up in and moved up the hill, that some of his neighbors were kind of like, well, why do you want to move up with those snooty people? Which is a really interesting. You're not supposed to want, a $2 million house. You're not supposed to be up there in that kind of space. Stay here with us where we feel comfortable. And that's no knock. There are more amazing people in his neighborhood than the few people that really taught him this kind of harsh reality of people that want to play it safe. But he moved and he's been there for a long time now, and was just reflecting on the people around him being some of the most giving, amazing people in this world. And I bring that one up just because it's a really common concern of what we were taught to not want. You shouldn't, it's impossible for rich men to get into heaven and all this crap that's totally misunderstood and totally mistaught to keep everybody safe and play it small and comfortable, because usually the person teaching it wants to play it that way as well. So, and that's no judgment for them. If that's how they want to play, you don't need them to be the bad guy or bad girl or whatever, but just realize that's not serving you. You can love them just as much. You can honor them and respect their message and their take. Just don't continue to allow that to define you. Start building your foundation so that you can make the footprint, the impact on this world that you were meant to. Because if there's one thing that we find with over 80% of our clients, you're not making the impact that deep down there's some stirring in your soul that you're supposed to be making in this world. And we have spent the last 19 years tirelessly finding the things that actually work to build your foundation. Now, building your foundation may not feel that sexy. Like when that engineering crew for the Space Needle finished that 30-foot deep by 120 feet wide and 120 feet deep foundation, that was a major, major accomplishment in that metropolis of Seattle for them to pull that off in that small space so that they could start building a Space Needle. But I'm sure everybody else was like, whatever. It's just a big old chunk of concrete. I mean, okay, with 72 giant bolts sticking out of it. Whoop-de-doo. But they saw, now they've got the foundation. Now the easy part begins. Now we can build the rest of this thing and know that it's going to be fine. It's not just about building it for what it looks like. It's building it to last. And you might work with us and build your foundation. It may not be as sexy as you wanted it to, but I promise you, stick with this foundation. What took you this long to build this isn't going to take you as long to build this, isn't going to take you as long to build this. And then you find this hockey stick accelerator in your life. Okay, look at any major company out there right now that's just rocking it. Look at Amazon, look at Apple. They built their foundation, and then whoop, and now they're multi-billion-dollar companies. Seriously, look up Apple, Amazon, couple others that you can see that have been around for a while and building their foundation. You look at their stocks for this week, and they're up and down and all over the place. You look at their stocks for a lifetime, and they go like this: foundation, 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 whoop, and this huge ramp. And everybody wants the ramp. They're just not willing to build the foundation. You will choose to do differently. You will choose to be one of the rare ones who isn't going for the sexy height of the Jenga tower. Okay? They're going for the foundational depth and breadth and life and inspiration of building a true foundation so that they can enjoy this journey along the way. And it never becomes about the elevation. It becomes about purpose and drive and significance. Thanks so much for listening today. I appreciate all of you being here. Your attention for my time and taking your time is not lost on me. I truly am humbled by the opportunity to be able to be here and share what has been taught and discovered by my father and many other coaches before me, working with tools like the Habit Finder and things I've learned from my own life being my number one laboratory to whether this stuff works or not. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And put in the comments anything we can serve you with, questions we can answer. My team monitors those consistently. They'll pull me in as needed if you need anything. As always, if you haven't taken your Habit Finder, you know anyone that hasn't taken a Habit Finder that is looking to build this foundation for their lives, no matter how big or small their dream, their Space Needle is, please invite them to take it. And we'll spend some time with them just to help them understand what they're looking at, to get them started on this foundation, whether they engage with us or not. And then hopefully at some point we can help them reach higher heights than they would have otherwise. Love you all. Thank you. Have a great day.